This is the story of Chiney Chumale Wong. Chiney was born in central Thailand in 1967. Both his parents lived separate from one another. At first, he lived with his mother and maternal grandma, but at 2 years old, he only lived with his grandma. When he was 3 years old, he began acting like a teacher in front of his friends, and he told people that he was a teacher in his past life. Not long after that, he said he was a man named Bua Kai. He said he was shot and killed while traveling to school, and he said he had a wife and children. Moreover, he begged his grandma to take him to an area called Kawa Phra. At less than 4 years old, his grandma decided to take him to Kawa Phra. They traveled by bus to a town called Kawa Sai. Then they walked to Kawa Phra. Chiney led his grandma to the home of Bua Kai. Chiney's grandma knew Bua Kai to some degree. For a period, Chiney's grandma lived about 3 miles away from Bua Kai's home. At the time, she sold stuff near her home and Bua Kai was a customer. However, Chiney's grandma did not know where Bua Kai lived and she did not know much about him. When Chiney first visited Bua Kai's family, there were multiple people at the home. However, Chiney identified Bua Kai's parents, and his knowledge of Bua Kai impressed Bua Kai's parents. The parents asked Chiney to return after a short period, so he did. When Chiney returned, Bua Kai's parents asked Chiney to pick out Bua Kai's belongings from other people's belongings. Chiney did so successfully. However, Chiney was annoyed when he learned some of Bua Kai's possessions were altered since Bua Kai's death. When Chiney saw one of Bua Kai's daughters, he asked for the other daughter by name. A friend of Bua Kai came over to Bua Kai's home. Bua Kai's twin daughters asked Chiney who the man was. Chiney said it was San Am, a friend of Bua Kai. This was correct. In total, Chiney made 14 correct statements about Bua Kai's life and death. Though there was no autopsy report on Bua Kai, several members of Bua Kai's family saw Bua Kai's dead body. Bua Kai was riding his bicycle to school when someone shot him in the back of the head. On a side note, Bua Kai was involved with gangs and he had multiple affairs with married women. People made 2 attempts to kill Bua Kai. Bua Kai survived the first murder attempt and he moved away from where he lived, but he did not survive the second murder attempt. The bullet that killed Bua Kai entered the back of his head and exited above his left eye, according to Bua Kai's family. Furthermore, they said that the exit wound was larger than the entrance wound. Interestingly, Chiney was born with 2 birthmarks on his head. Above his left eye, he had a hairless birthmark, and behind his head, he had a hairless birthmark. The locations of Chiney's birthmarks matched the locations of Bua Kai's fatal entrance and exit wounds. What's more, the birthmark on the front of Chiney's head was larger than the birthmark on the back of Chiney's head, just like the fatal exit wound on Bua Kai was larger than the entrance wound. At the University of Virginia, there are 18 double birthmark cases. In other words, 18 children who remember their past lives have 2 birthmarks that match the entrance and exit wounds of their past lives. Bua Kai's family believed Chiney was a reincarnation of Bua Kai, therefore they talked about adopting him. However, Chiney's grandma wouldn't allow this. Sometimes Chiney secretly left his home and he visited Bua Kai's family, but then Chiney's grandma went to bring him back home. Chiney didn't just know about the life and death of Bua Kai, he also acted like Bua Kai. When Chiney saw Bua Kai's daughters, he gave them pieces of sugarcane. Bua Kai did the same thing when he was alive. Also, Chiney wanted Bua Kai's twin daughters to call him father, even though Chiney was 14 years younger than them. At first, the twins said they wouldn't call Chiney father, but Chiney said that he would not speak to them, so they decided to call Chiney their father. Chiney also wanted Bua Kai's younger brother to treat Chiney like the older brother. The younger brother refused, so Chiney ignored him whenever they met. In the end, Chiney grew up, got married, and became a telephone lineman. If you like spirituality, science, art, or animals, then be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and don't forget to turn on the notification bell.